Today I have an episode that was actually a suggestion from a listener. His name is Philip Perry. So, Philip, thank you so much. Basically, on the episode 122, I had an interview with Thibaut, and he's kind of a Twitter influencer. He is building a platform that allows people to make better tweets. So we obviously spoke a little bit about Twitter, and I said that I think, and actually there's a lot of people saying that Twitter is coming back with a lot of new amazing features, and it's a social network that it has been around for so long. I just checked that my first Twitter account was from 2012, but it's still booming, and now it will probably gain a lot of new users. And it's funny because if you think about it, Twitter was a platform used by a lot of candidates, a lot of presidents, especially in the US, right? So you know that Biden and Trump, both of them use Twitter as kind of an official way of sharing information and news. And Trump was even banned by Twitter, but that's a different story. So yeah, I mentioned that Twitter was coming and booming, and it was still, probably trying to compete with other social networks. And Philip asked me to make an episode about the new features that Twitter is releasing. So yeah, I did my research. As you know, I've been using Twitter also to grow my communities, for Wannabe Entrepreneur, for Change It Too. And the reason I'm using Twitter for Wannabe Entrepreneur is because one of the ways I try to get new listeners is through the network of the people I interview. And I interviewed people that had a big network on YouTube, on Instagram, but it never got me a lot of listeners. And the reason behind that is because those platforms are not great to share links. They are not great to share podcasts. And I asked people to reshare my story with their followers, and it never got a lot of traction. And the same with YouTube. YouTube also has a community feature, and Hendrik, he shared our talk. Hendrik he has a YouTube channel, by the way, with more than 80,000 subscribers, and just because he shared a link instead of an image, it just got a reach of very, very, very short reach. I think it only got 5 likes instead of the normal 200 likes. So I thought, okay, I can find maybe my community on Twitter, and it's easier to share links on Twitter. So that's kind of the reason why I started, using Twitter, and I'm really happy with it. But let's get started with some of the features that I guess they are new features, and I think they are bringing Twitter to the next level. I also did a couple of research. I watched some YouTube videos. I read some blogs. So the first feature that I actually noticed, I didn't have to read to notice because it's quite out there, is scheduled tweets. So it's something common, right? If you are a content creator, especially if you're on Twitter, if you, as you know, when I released the episode about the dark side of Twitter, you can really get addicted to it. So it's important to have a scheduling tool that allows you to plan ahead, like let's say 2, 3, 4 days, so that you don't have to always go to Twitter. And there's a tool that I used to use was Buffer, but now Twitter has a built-in feature just for that. So you can actually write a tweet and then schedule it for 1 day, 2 days, 3 days ahead, or even more actually, and then you can define the time that you want to release that tweet. So it's great. If you are only using Twitter, then you just don't need to use Buffer or any other scheduling tool. Another great feature that Twitter just rolled out is the possibility to define who can actually reply to your tweet. And I guess this makes more sense for people that have a huge followership, because sometimes you want to make a question, and if anyone starts answering, it just like gets too much spammy. So you can just say, I'm making a question and only these 3 or 4 followers can actually answer, or you can tag people and only those can answer. So it's a way to somehow organize better the tweets, and it's some way, I guess, to support these big communities. and that's the second feature. And the third feature is actually the Metacard Preview, which I thought it was always there, but apparently it's not. So it's basically when you paste a link on Twitter, it generates a little preview so that you know how it will look like once you tweet. And yeah, apparently before this was not a feature, even though it's some kind of a common feature in all the other social networks, but now it's there and you can use it. Another big feature, and you know that with Clubhouse and audio and podcasts too, right? Audio is coming, and I guess all the social networks are getting around and building features for audio. And Twitter just released Audio Spaces, which is basically a copy of Clubhouse that allows you to join a chat with your phone, but with only with your voice. So you don't have to show your video, just with your voice. And I don't know how to create my own space. I guess it's still not out there. I don't think anyone can create it yet, but I've joined other spaces and it's quite cool. It's basically a copy of a Clubhouse. I don't know if you tried it, but I mean, it's great. I really think that audio is the next big thing. And another feature that I've heard about, I've never tested because it's only available apparently on iOS, is voice recording. So you can actually do tweets with your voice. You can record to up 240 seconds of audio. So that's a great thing. And then the last feature is Twitter communities. And Twitter communities basically subreddits. So if you are a Reddit user, you know about this. It's kind of a forum where there's moderators and you can invite people to join. And if you join this community, then you can basically tweet just for that community. It's like a little forum. And I still didn't see it as well, so I guess it's not available in every country. I know that they're also trying a lot of things. They also tried what they call Twitter Fleets, which was basically Twitter stories, like Instagram stories. It's a feature that I just read in some blog that Twitter canceled it. So I guess they are like really investing in developing. And it's funny because I guess now I also see a lot of promoted tweets. They have their own ads, and you can promote your tweets, which is basically the business model of any social network. But I thought that in the beginning they didn't want to do ads, so I guess that's why Twitter never actually blew up. And now that they have this business model and it's probably very profitable, they are building the next version of Twitter, and people seem to love it. If you want to support this podcast and also want to have kind of the summary of these features, I released a kind of a guide with all of these features and some nice screenshots so that you can see how these features look like. And for the price of one coffee, it's like a one-time donation. You don't have to be a member. You can have access to this one, and you can also have access to all the other posts that I do only for supporters. And if you buy me a coffee until the end of September, you also get a lifetime subscription or access to the Wannabe Entrepreneur Slack community. So make sure you do that and you join us. I hope you found this content interesting. I hope you liked it, Philip. This was another Wannabe Entrepreneur. See you tomorrow.